Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to presenting to you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen just now. Can you see my screen?
We can see it. Okay. There you go. Perfect.
All right. So as Robbie has introduced me, I've been working within the bursaries section and with specifically with bursaries and the different youth development programs, your learnerships, your internship programs. As you can see here on my first slide, I've presented the different SETAs. This will be talking to how you would go about applying for your internships. So there's different sectors, Sector of Education and Training Authority, which you can look at. So this slide talks about bursary. So I'll first explain what is a bursary. A bursary is a monetary award made by any educational institution or funding authority to individuals or groups. So even different companies can offer bursaries to students who qualify. So most companies or educational institutions, they have criteria in which you need to meet for you to qualify for a bursary. It is usually awarded to enable students to attend school, university or college when they might not be able to otherwise. Some awards are aimed at encouraging specific groups and individuals into study. And then a learnership is a recognized or registered structured experiential learning. So for you to qualify for a learnership, you don't necessarily need to have gone to a university. As you have seen in my first slide where I presented the different SETAs. So this means once you've completed your matric, you can then register yourself into a specific SETA. For an example, if you would like to study engineer, then you would have to register with an engineering SETA, your SETA. If you'd like to venture into accounting, then you would into a financial sector, you can register with, for an example, your facet SETA. And then those will assist you to get a learnership. So a learnership, it's an experiential learning program in the workplace. It's done in a work environment that is required after the achievement of a qualification. So a qualification can be your matric, as I said. You are formally assessed by a statutory or a legal, occupational, or professional body. So a learnership, for instance, gets you to an NQF2. It's a contact center. It supports, or it's an NQF level 7 chartered accountants, as I've said, that you can go into a learnership after you've achieved or you've finished your CA degree or program. Learnerships, most of the time they happen, so it's actually 70% on the job. So you have to do the practical work, and 30% happens where there's a mentor, it's mentorship, and part of the 30% can be your theoretical training. Once you've completed your learnership, you are then assessed, and then you will be viewed as competent or not competent after a learnership. So when you are applying either for a bursary or a learnership, you have to make sure that you know your why and your values. You must have clarity and focus, because what you do or what you do not do can influence your why and your personal values. And it impacts your motivation. And then the benefits of your why and your personal values, when you apply for a bursary or a learnership opportunity, it includes your covering letter. You must have a covering letter whenever you apply either for a bursary or or for a learnership, you need to have a covering letter. A covering letter actually sets you apart from other applicants, because in your covering letter, that's where you will tell them who you are and your interests. Over and above your CV or your qualification, they will need to know who is this person even before they meet with you. So in your covering letter, you will then tell them who you are and why you are actually interested in the role. Why you are interested in the bursary, and why should they consider you for funding. So here I'm going to just give you type of interview questions, whether you are interviewing for a bursary or a learnership. So it is important that whenever you are applying for a bursary, that you prepare yourself for an interview. So you become serious to a point where you prepare yourself as if you are actually applying for the actual work. So you have to know why you want to study the field of study that you want to study, and what has motivated you to apply for that field of study, or why do you want to do the learnership. So some of the questions that get asked, the first question that you would be asked is, tell us about yourself. So this question, it's about yourself in a context to the opportunity you are applying for, to the field of study that you're applying for. Hence, I said, you need to prepare for your interview. You need to prepare for an interview as if you are preparing for your exams, because this will also give the interviewer or the potential sponsor or the potential learnership employer, who are you? So for an example, I'll make an example. If you are asked this question, so you can either start by introducing yourself and say, I'm Noluthando Beapi, and I'm studying accounting, you know, and then you mention why have you chosen to study accounting. You don't talk about your personal life, you don't talk about your religion, you don't talk about anything else other than make sure you're in the context of the field of study. The second question that you would be asked would be, what do you know about the field of study you want to pursue? So with this question, you have to make sure that you understand the field of study. You've done your research. You know, once you have qualified in that field of study, what would be, you know, the different career opportunities that you would have. So this question, by you answering this question and making sure you're in the context, it's showing your potential funder or your potential employer that you have actually prepared yourself and you know what the field of study is about, and you are driven and goal-orientated. And then another question here would be, make sure you discuss and demonstrate your knowledge and passion for the subject. And when you do this, you are showing the potential employer or the potential sponsor that you will not drop out. You are not hesitant. You are not just applying for the field of study because a friend or possibly your mom has told you, or your high school teacher has told you that you are good in maths, and therefore you can, you know, you have the knowledge of and you have the passion for the subject, and therefore that will keep you focused and make sure that you study and you stay the course. So another question would be, have you been involved in any community work or held any leadership roles? In this question, the potential sponsor wants to know that you are adaptable and wants to know more about yourself. It must not be about yourself, me. So in this question, you must make sure that you show your employer that you can adapt in different situations. So you are able to work in a team environment. You are able to, when you go to university, you will be able to work on group projects where you are required to. And yeah, it should show your ability to adapt in different situations. Okay, so I always tell the students that you don't wait until you have finished the qualification before you can actually look for learnership programs. You have to make sure that while you are studying, from first year after receiving your final results, or from your second year, then you start compiling a list of companies that you would ideally like to work for, and actually visit those companies to see if they've got learnership opportunities. And while you are studying, in terms of your bursary, it's important for you to prepare yourself, already plan so that you are not disadvantaged when you finish your qualification. You don't find yourself sitting for a year, only starting then to look for opportunities. So you must make sure that you compile that list of companies, and make sure you apply for vacation work during school breaks. You apply for CA programs. You must make sure that you apply for your articles very early. And what potential funders or potential employers would then look at your academic performance throughout, for them to even consider you for learnership. So it's important from second year onwards. Don't wait until you finish. I think that that's the end of my presentation, and I hope I've covered most of the things that the audience would have wanted to know. If not, Robbie, I don't know if we're good to go for questions, and in the questions, I'm sure I'll be able to cover more.
Great, thank you so much, Noluthando. I think that was really very, very interesting. And I can share with participants that, as somebody who had a bursary myself, I really understand the value of bursaries and learnerships. So it's really something to take into consideration, if at all possible for you as a student, not only if you need the financial support, but even to make sure that you get that job at the end of the day. So thanks so much, Noluthando. I think that there's been about 200 questions since you started your section. So I'm going to try and get us through some of those that that are still outstanding.
Okay.
So I think maybe if the one question that's come up quite a lot is both, can you apply for a bursary and a learnership, as well as what is the difference between a bursary and a learnership? Maybe if you, and I know you did touch on some of this, but could you just maybe expand on that a little bit for the participants, please?
Okay, so as I've said, a bursary would assist a student that would like to go to school. So you can apply for a bursary immediately when you finish your matric, for you to be able to go to a university, study at a university or TVET college, and then you would be able. So it comes in a form of monetary value. So we would basically the funder would basically pay for your fees while you are studying. And a learnership, it's a work-based program. So you would have, when you finish your matric, you would have to apply. So most of the situations that I've come across, people who apply for sometimes learnership, some of the students don't even have or did not qualify for bursaries. So they will apply for a learnership in an institution. Say, for instance, they want to not to stay at home or to take a gap year. You can, that's why I presented the SETA. So if you want to go to a financial SETA, you want to work in finance, but you did not necessarily qualify to go to a university, you can apply for a learnership. And then 70% would be in the job training. So you would have to basically do the work. And then the 30% will then be the learning. And I mentioned that the learning part of it would be, you would be allocated a mentor, and you would then have to do a theoretical part. So that's the difference. You would not necessarily go to a university. So you will be given an opportunity to work there, and you will have a mentor. And in that part, you will still have to learn the theoretical part. So some of the examples I can share is that you would get hired, and then that company would then give you training. You'll have to attend courses. That is the theoretical part I'm talking about. That forms part of a learnership. However, for a student who has finished their qualification, say you've studied psychology and you've completed, you can then apply for a learnership to get the experience within the company. You would then have to do the practical work. So it's also a learnership. So both students who are from matric and students who have qualified at a tertiary institution can apply for a learnership. I don't know if I've answered the question. I hope I did.
No, I do think you did. Thanks so much, Noluthando. The next big question is, and maybe this is a bit of a tough one, but in your experience, what kind of marks are we looking at for students who are looking to get bursaries and scholarships?
Okay. Depending, and you'll hear me making an example with the financial sector most of the time because I work for a financial sector. So if a company, like for instance, a bank is looking for an accountant, then you must know that the fields of study that you should be funding, like your accountant, you have to specialize in accounting and maybe maths, or you applying for actuarial science. You would then have to have an average of 75%, so you must make sure that an average, some companies or some bursary houses or funders, they then say to you, for maths, you have to get a specific mark, 75%, for English, depending on what the institution or the company specializes in. But most of them, from my experience and research, 75% to qualify for a bursary, it's the mark. And when you are already in university and applying for a bursary, so it's different. It's a bit lower, so they can say you must get an average of 65% as compared to a student that comes from directly from matric. So if a company offers a bursary and you did not qualify for a bursary in your first year, and then you say, okay, let me try apply for my second year, then you would then have to get 65% and upwards.
Okay, fantastic. Noluthando, I think this has been a really good piece of information for all the participants. I want to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It's been really good and interesting. And we just are very grateful that you spent the time with us today. Thank you so much.
I'm very grateful to have been part of this initiative. It's a very good one.
The University of Johannesburg, the future reimagined.